Okay, good morning to everybody. Likutei Moharan Yomi. We jump into Torah Ches, which we started yesterday, and we spoke about the importance of breathing. And we spoke about how krechs means to be marich ruche, means to take in a very deep breath, and in some sense that means that a person is fulfilling and completing their chisaron, their lack. Because in all lack is a lack of vitality, which is a lack of chayis, a lack of chiyus. And ultimately, the way to be mamshech and to be marich, that chayis, is by taking a deep breath. And that's true physically, like we mentioned, and we spoke about at length, and it's true, of course, beruchnius, and there's a ruchni element of it. And the element of ruchnius comes from the tzaddik. Now the tzaddik is a bechina of the Torah. The tzaddik is the embodiment of the spirit, really, of the ruach, let's say, of the Torah. And the Torah is all ruach because it says v'ruach elikim rachefes al pnei hamayim, and mayim is Torah. And David HaMelech's kinar had 5 strings, which is keneged the chamisha chumshei Torah, and the ruach tzefainas comes in through the window and it plays upon the strings of David HaMelech's kinar. And that's the aspect of the ruach elikim that's merachefes al pnei hamayim, ein mayim ala Torah. And safon means that hidden place within a person, the heart within a person. The heart is that which feels the chisaron, and the heart is the place where that chisaron could be filled. Where we can fill the lack of the heart. Any aspect that a person's missing something means that there's some kind of lessening of the person's vitality, of the person's strength. And Am Yisrael, who received their Ruach Chaim from the Torah, are called tzifunim. Al amcha yarimu said v'yisyatzu al tzifunecha. Am Yisrael are the b'chin of tzafon because we're connected to that place. Then the Rebbe Nachman said that the Rishaim are also drawing their chiyus from somewhere, and the place where they're drawing their life force is from their leader, which is an aspect of Esav, which says Yeshli Rav. And Esav is an Ish Sa'ir, and Ish Sa'ir is a b'chin of Ruach Sa'ara. And we spoke at length about this. Ruach Sa'ara is the hurricane, which is Takif Lefisha, which is very powerful in and of its time, but then it passes. But in its time, it's extraordinarily powerful. And that's where the Risham are receiving all of their energy. But the Tzaddik is counteracting that, the b'chin of Yaakov Avinu. The Tzaddik is counteracting this Inyan. Good morning, it's so great to see you. Thanks for joining us. The Tzaddik is counteracting this Inyan of Esav. And that's what we finished off at the very end of Eis Gimel. Take a look at the last line. Achad davak b'tzadikim mekabel l'rachaim shleimus achisar me'atzadik v'arav d'kedusha. Those that are connected to the tzaddik are being mekabel ruach chaim from the tzaddik, who is the opposite of the inyan of Yeshli Rav. You know, where Esav has this inyan of a Rav, the Ish Sa'ir, the Ruach Sa'ara, and the Tzaddik is the slow and steady breeze. You know, it's not the big Ruach Sa'ara, but it's the Bechina, like we said yesterday, of the Gemara in Tainis, La'olami Adam, Rach Kakane, right? V'aliyah Kasha Ke'erez. It isn't such a mighty, tremendous cedar tree, but the Tzaddik gives a person a consciousness of resilience. It was Torah Vav. Baki b'ratzai, baki b'shoiv, right? In the consciousness of knowing of real das that we said is chasadim and gevuras, that irrespective of whether things are going well or things are not going so well, but we have that fortitude and resilience where a person is locked in and plugged in, and that's the aspect of the tzaddik's ruach that's able to overcome the ruach of the Rasha. And we continue in Eis Daled, Yalkein therefore be'ish chacham mechaprana, which is a pasuk that we had learned in Torah Daled, where we spoke about the concept of humility. If you remember, right? We spoke about the concept of Moshe Rabbeinu. Ish chacham michaperena. We said a sefer tevis Moshe, and that's the aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu's humility. And the Rebbe had said over there, over she'er what was the pasuk? Over al pesha l'she'eris, right? Over al pesha l'she'eris. Yes, Over al pesha l'she'eris, and Chazal had said Misha Mesam Atzmi KeShiURIM. We spoke about the spirit of humility, all right? And v'ish Chochmah michaperena, and Chochmah is the bechina of Chochmah me'ayin timatzeh, right? And we spoke about over there how the tzaddik has the capacity to assist a person in mechilas avonos. So Rebbe Nachman presents that over here in a slightly different way. He says this is another reason why the tzaddikim have an inyan of helping a person to be mechaper for their averos. Ki achisar reinu machmas avonos. because a chisaron comes to a person's life, because of averis. Like Chazal say, in misa b'loi chet ve'in yisurim b'loi avon. There's no death without a certain aspect of chet, because misa and chet are connected. They're both a voiding of spirit, right? And that's why it says Risham afilu b'chayayim are in a certain sense kriyim mesim ve'in yisurim b'loi avon. And a person does not suffer without iniquity. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, and I responded pakati b'shevet pisham with a staff, and it's sort of pisham is a response to their pesha, and with makos avoinam, their sin. Therefore, hatzadik hamamshich ruachayim umasham chisaron mechaper avon. So says the Rebbe very deeply. Hold on one second. That tzaddik is mechaper for the I'm sorry. That tzaddik is mashlim the chisaron, but the chisaron is only a symptom. And that means so something much deeper is going on here. I'm reminded of a beautiful Torah. Can't remember exactly from who it comes along with the whole story. We don't have time for that now. But very basically, the pasuk says that the whole teichacha comes upon us. Tachas asher lo yivat es Hashem alekacha b'simcha v'tov leva. All right, so they're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but they're serving Hashem without simcha. And obviously, from a Breslover standpoint, there's a lot of depth to that, and the importance of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu with joy. But the tzaddik says, like, really, the whole teichacha over what? Over this, that they didn't do it, and the Rebbe, they did it tzachaka, but they didn't do it with simcha. And also, what's this funny word tachas? It should say, mipnei kilo, so tachas, like as a replacement for, and as a result of. But the word tachas really means under. So the tzaddik says, because it's never about that a person didn't serve Hashem with simcha. The question is, what was under that? Right? Because not serving Hashem with simcha is just a symptom. But what was the issue? That's what the teichacha tachas ashalei avatas Hashem lekacha. You have to look for the root cause of things, not the symptom. And so the Rebbe says over here, that a person has a chisaron is a symptom. So the tzaddik isn't just simply coming to help a person with the symptomology, right? That now he doesn't have a chisaron, and now the chisaronis are filled through the inyan of ruach chayim that's able to be mashlim the chisaron, which is always a chisaron in ruach. Because the Rebbe said, when you leave Breslov, we said yesterday, and people ask you what you did here, tell them taimru ruach. Right, that the whole thing is ruach, and now it's much deeper. Because in this tiny little paragraph, the Rebbe says, well, actually, the way that the Rebbe helps a person be mashal v'chisaron is really because the Rebbe gets them out of chet. Right? And the Rebbe helps a person to fill themselves in a real way, like we said yesterday, not to paper over, the void that we feel, which is the inyan of the ruach sa'ara that looks very impressive and it looks very useful and it looks very effective, but it's l'fisha, and then a person is right back to their pain. The Rebbe helps a person be mashlim, to recognize that actually what you're looking for is a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Actually, what you're looking for in a much deeper sense is yourself. Meaning you're looking to get in touch with your fundamental essential wellness, your fundamental and essential wholeness by coming to identify as a neshama, by coming to identify as a chelik l'kamimal, by coming to recognize that you have the fullness of the infinite in you. And that's what the Rebbe helps a person accomplish. If a person can accomplish that, so that Memela, they don't need Averis. Memela, they have no chesroinus. Memela. You understand? So the Rebbe is going straight to the root. And the Rebbe is not sufficing simply by saying, okay, connect to the tzaddik, and then you'll have your lacks filled. It's much deeper than that. It's much deeper because the lack was only a symptom of chet, of avon, because ein misa b'lei chet and ein yisur b'lei avon, and the Rebbe goes to the core, and that's enabling a person really to rectify the shoirish of the chisaron, and that's a very important nekuda, even though he says it in just a few little sentences here, and that's an important nekuda. Now the Rebbe says the most incredible thing. You have to be medayik every word. Okay, it's not Lashon Rabbeinu, but still. He says, "V'hu migoydel rachmanus v'chaninus me'aboyre yizbarach shemai." It is a remarkable compassion and chaninus and a grace that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has granted us. Simsim atzmai liyos haruach chayim eitzlat tzadikim. So shocking lashon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu constricted Himself. Simsim atzmai. And that's also a wild thing because in the sefer you never speak about Tzimtzim and Atzmos, right? You speak about Tzimtzim and Ein Sof. So again, I don't know how deep you can be medayik because of course, Tzimtzim like Pshuta and Hashem is not constricting Himself. Israel is constricting is light. But we have over here Tzimtzim Atzmai Liyos Haruach Chaim Eitzlat Tzadikim. This that the Tzadikim are giving people Ruach Chaim, this is God. This is Eibishter. This is Elokus. He became the Ruach Chaim of the tzaddikim. It's an amazing thing that the tzaddikim are not just giving us inspiration; they're giving us elokus. That's what elokus is to feel a sense of ruach, is to feel this consciousness of emunah. That is Hashem. Says that, right? It's an unbelievable lashon. Shetzimtzem atzmai liyos haruach Chaim eitzah tzaddikim. He has become the Ruach Chaim that the tzaddikim are distributing, so to speak, are helping us discover. Because again, they're receiving the Ruach Chaim from the Torah, and we know the Kutsh B'rich of Ayraisa, Kulachad, right? Kodesh Baruch Hu is one with the Torah. And they thereby are drawing down the spirit of Ruach Chaim to all the chesronos, and this is helping the person to rectify their averos, and each one is reflective of the other. And the ultimate kippur, the ultimate kapara for avonos is post Chetei Egel. That was the largest collective sin on the part of the Jewish nation. And who was the one who brokered that deal? We were speaking before about deals. Who brokered that deal with the Kodesh Baruch Hu Kiviyachol? Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu went, Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to destroy everybody. Moshe Rabbeinu went up, and Moshe Rabbeinu argued on behalf of Klal Yisrael. And again, it's just fundamental sources in Tanakh. People balk at the idea of a tzaddik being moichel avonos. He's not moichel avonos. But without Moshe Rabbeinu, we were finished. Right? We have to understand that. The tzaddik plays a massive role. Not fundamentally, but because the Kodesh Baruch Hu instituted that there should be a thing called a tzaddik. It happens to be that Christianity came and distorted the whole concept. But it is a concept. Right? There is a concept of a tzaddik. It's just not, he's not God. Right? But there is the concept. There's a klipa in the concept of tzaddik. Christianity, and in addition to many other things, which are very important and deep. But there is the concept of a tzaddik in Yiddishkeit. And we don't run to another extreme just because somebody happened to take a holy concept and distort it, and now you pretend like that concept doesn't exist in Yiddishkeit. It's a fundamental aspect of Yiddishkeit. Right? And right. In one sentence, they believed in God, they believed in Moshe. There's emunah in tzaddikim. And so Moshe Rabbeinu helps that Klal Yisrael should be mechaper for the Chetei Egel, and the response to Moshe Rabbeinu's advocacy is the Yud Gimel Midas of Rachamim. So says the Rebbe, we're going to see in the Yud Gimel Midas of Rachamim this whole inyan. This is the aspect of the 13 midas of Rachamim, which is Hashem, Kel Racham, Chanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed, Noitzer Chesed Alafim, Noisi Avam Vesh, V'Chatam V'Nakeh. Right, that's the Yud Gimel Midas. Look what the Rebbe does. I'm telling you, it's mind blowing. Look at what the Rebbe does over here. Erech Apayim. Let's just start with the beginning. Erech Apayim U'Bechinas Haruach. This is just what we already said. Marich Rucha V'Gavadilei. That's when a person takes a long breath. Marich Ruche, right? That's being patient. Erech Apayim. Erech Apayim, right? It literally means long nose, and it can mean that in a literal sense also. You know that Rebbe Gamliel was called the Bal HaChotem, right? Because he was very connected, the Svarim say, to the Midah of Erech Apayim, so he physically had a long nose, he had a prominent nose, and maybe all Jews, had this inyan, or channeling down this inyan of Ruach to the world, the patience to the world. That's true. But Marich Ruche is all, but Ruach Apenu, but Erech Apayim rather, is also an aspect of the Arichos, of the neshima that goes into the apayim, right? Erech apayim means a long breath, not just a long nose, right? But a long air, like drawing in of air. This is a bechina v'anacha l'chisarin. This is sighing over chisarin. So that's erech apayim. Once you have erech apayim, you know what you get next? Rav chesed. Where do we have the word Rav before in the Torah? When Esav said, Yesh li Rav. Esav is a bechina of which midah? He's the child of Yitzchak, right? Esav, the child of Yitzchak, right? It's the midah of Gevura. So Rav Chesed is the opposite of the Rav of Esav. Yesh li Rav is Rav Gevura. Says the Rebbe, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed. You connect to the tzaddikim who are on the side of Chesed, counteracting the Yesh li Rav of Esav. That a person draws down the Ruach Chaim from the tzaddik who's Rav de Kedusha. By the way, where does this word Rav come from? Right, and the Rebbe is going to say this elsewhere in the Likutei Moharan. Rav, Rebbe, is Rosh Hashanah, is Rosh B'nai Yisrael. And like the Baal Tanya says in Parak Beis in Tanya, that the tzaddik is a bechin of the moyach of Klal Yisrael, which is the collective neshama klalis, that the whole body is connected to and drawing its energy from the moichin, right, from the mentality, from the brain. And Rav is lashon plural because the tzaddik is a collective soul. Rav, he's Rav. And everybody's nitzrach, everybody's kulam nitzrach alav karabim, as the Gemara tells us about Moshe Rabbeinu. Kivin l'rabim kaboy, he was chashav karabim. So right, since Moshe Rabbeinu was either necessary for the rabbim, or I saw this also in one of the Mefarshim, not that he was necessary for the rabbim, but even deeper, not kivin l'rabim kaboy because he was necessary for rabbim, but boy could mean to pray. In Tevan Bon, we said Thursday night, right? The Indian of Maveh, right? Which is the Indian of a human being who prays. Kivin de l'rabim kaboy, because he prayed for the generation. That's what made him a leader. He prayed for everyone. The Mele, he was chashiv karabim, very deep. But this is the Indian of Rav. A person is receiving the rachayim from the tzaddik. Shehu Rav Chesed. Gewalt. He's Hevach Esav, Rav de Klipa. That's the opposite of the Rav de Klipa, who's the Indian of Esav, Shuad Moini, Toikav Adin, who's all red, right? And that's the Indian of Gevura, and he's the son of Yitzchak. No. Rav Chesed. Rav Chesed. V'hainu ve'emes. Where did the tzaddik get his Indian that he became a Rav Chesed? Because emes. Because Torah is emes chayse b'fiu. He received his rachayim from the Torah. So let's keep track. Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, erech hapayim, to take in a deep neshima. That's fulfilling all of our chesarim. How are you going to do that? Rav Chesed, by connecting to the tzaddikim who are the counteraction, the hepech, the opposite of Esav, which is Rav, which is Yeshli Rav or Rav Gevura. Let's say. How did the tzaddik become a Rav Chesed? Because ve'emes. What's ve'emes? Is the Torah Kedosha. V'hainu noitzer chesed la'alafim. La'alafim ze bechinas alufei Esav, Rabbi Esav. We said that Yeshli Rav of Esav is the bechina of alufei Esav, the chieftains, the leaders of Esav. Rabbi Esav, shu Rav de Klipa. V'zeu noitzer chesed. We respond with kindness. Shechesed b'chinas harav de kedusha. Rav Chesed is noitzer chesed. Noitzer is to counteract. Umamtik b'chinas alufei Esav. Rabbi Esav. Noitzer chesed la'alafim. What are the alafim? The alufei Esav, which is the Rav de Klipa, which is the Rav Gevura. So through the tzaddik, who's the b'china of erech apayim, that therefore he became a Rav Chesed. Where did he get that from? From ve'emes, which is the Torah, that enables him to respond to the alufei Esav, noitzer chesed la'alafim. He counteracts the gevura, the admoini, the bechina of Yitzchak Avinu, right? Of Esav, the klipa, right? Of the klipa of that by Esav. V'halkein. Therefore, what's the next word? Noisei abam v'fasha v'chatav nakeh. Therefore, he's able to be mashlam archisroinus with arichas apayim. That leads to the mechila for averis. Pilei plaim. The way that the Rebbe just reveals the depth of the whole Yud Gimel Midas of Rachamim. Unbelievable. Right? Kehal Yedidim. And again, this is not a parish you would have found anywhere, because in order to no one's thinking in this way. You first have to construct this whole binyan, and then you see the parish, which is very, very unique. It's not, you're not operating within known Mamari Chazal, which is most Mefarshim. You look at the Marsha, it's basically given what we know from here and from there and from the other. But Rebbe Nachman's revealing a brand new structure, and then he's plugging it in, and it's completely unique. Completely unique. Because the through this, that a person is drawing their breath from the ruach of the tzaddik. So then, through this, the Averis are neschaper, which was the whole inyan again of the Yud Gimel Midas of Rachman that was brought about through Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? And that's the inyan of the Ish Chacham Mechaper, how the tzaddik has the capacity to help a person be Mechaper V'zeo, and that's why the Yud Gimel Midas of Rachman, and then after Erech Apayim, which is the B'chin of Rav Chesed, which comes from Emes, which is therefore able to be Noitzer Chesed La'alaf into the Alufei Esav. So then V'chata, and then Noiseh Avin V'fesha V'chata V'nakeh. The Rebbe continues in Eis Hey. When a person takes a deep breath, Mamshech Urachayim al Chisaron. We said that we're drawing down Urachayim into the Chisaron Shemisaneach alav u'mashlam, because that's why a person cracks when something isn't going well in a person's life. When a person feels a lack and they take a deep breath, say, right? And when a person does that and is marich the ruach in and the ruach out, that is completing the Chisaron. But imagine what happens. How do you be mashlim the chisaron of the fact that there are rabbanim? Again, I'm saying, gently, rabbanim in the non-Jewish world. Let's say of Esav, right? Where they're the leaders of culture, they're the heads of state. There are different people who are really blocking HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence from being revealed. How are we mashlim that chisaron? How does a person do that? See, he says you have to be careful about it. Because achlis gars b'rashayim efshir. You cannot fight with Rashaim. Kikishim is gar b'rasha, because if you're fighting with a Rasha v'hu misaneach, and that causes him to sigh, oh my. He says, that's just going to cause more ruach, meaning that's going to cause him to intensify his connection, so to speak, with the Sitra Achra. So, this is very deep. It's very, very deep, because the way that we're teaching it in more of a psycho-spiritual, emotional sense, if a person has a void that they're trying to fill with something else, and then we approach trying to help that person in the wrong way, we spoke on Sunday morning a little bit, if you don't speak properly to that person, that can cause a person to feel more shame and more guilt and more frustration, and he'll dig in his heels deeper. And that's what we're talking about here. He'll feel the need to take a much deeper inhale of, sometimes practically, an inhale of whatever it is that the person was connected to. Because that's going to cause him to feel balachats, and all of a sudden he never felt, more desperate, for a fix, and that makes him go run right back to it. So he says you got to be careful. That's going to cause him to take in a deep breath, so to speak, from the Rav de Klipa of a ruach shaligad b'shaitan, and that is very powerful, very, very difficult to counteract that. These are some of the most potent, let's say, substances. Let's say a person's addicted to heroin, a person's addicted to cocaine. How are you going to counteract that with, that's not simple. That's not simple. And if a person isn't careful, you can push a person further into addiction, further into trying to heal themselves and to fill their void, which of course that's never going to fill. And the conscience is going to make the void much, 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 much deeper. Chas v'shalom. But you have to be careful about it. Because it's very powerful. We said the Russia is like able to blow down everything. It's the Ruach Sa'ara, and that can really hurt the tzaddik who's trying to help. So not every person knows how to do this properly. He says only a tzaddik gamor has the capacity to be able to counteract this terrible energy of the Russia, of Rishos. And a tzaddik gamor, this aspect of a tzaddik gamor, is hu bebechinas lo yu'unu l'tzaddik kol aven. When the tzaddik is completely removed from aven, dainu shekfar gerish ubito kol hara shaloi, this person has absolutely no ra. He knows for sure that he will never, ever be nichshal. Now, to those who are familiar with Tanya, this, if you're keeping track, is the tzaddik she'eino gamor of the Tanya. Rebbe Nachman has it as a tzaddik gamor. In Tanya, this is a tzaddik she'eino gamor, because tzaddik gamor in the Tanya is hapcha. He's turned everything into toiv. Over here, Rebbe Nachman is just saying the bechin of sur meira, right? Oven mash. He's removed from oven. In Tanya, this is the tzaddik she'eino gamor, and Rebbe Nachman's tzaddik she'eino gamor, which we're going to get to in a minute, is the bechin of the beinoni of the Tanya, which is fascinating. It's just very interesting. Okay. The Indian says the Rebbe, ki yesh ta'al yisodos, there are 4 yisodos. We learned about them earlier. Eish, ruach, mayim, afar. Right? We learned about all the bad midas that come from Eish, right? And gaiva and ruach was Eish was Eish anger? Let's go back. I'm sorry. That's why we need chazara. Going back. Yeah, on the top of Dalit. No, so over there the Rebbe set it up differently. He set it up, as Sameach and Doimim Sameach Chaim Edaber. So that was slightly different. But over here, the Tanya says this right in the beginning, right? That because those things are also connected. Every category of four. One of the Yidden is actually listening to the SHIURIM. Remarkable. Maybe I'll ask him if we can make it public. He shared with me a document where he's putting together all the fours in Torah. Because he learned in the SHIURIM that they're all connected, and he's putting all of them together. He has a list of 30 sets of four. Imagine how much Torah, if you're to be a mefalpel like Rebbe Nachman, between this and that, and figure out all the different aspects, and how it's all one structure. Remarkable. Also, they're all connected. And the Tanya speaks about the Eish Ruach Maim Afar. Afar is obvious, right? Is depression, sadness. Maim is Taiva. Ruach is Gaiva, and I think Eish is anger. I think, no, Ruach is Devarim B'Telim. I think, and Eish is Gaiva. Okay, but regardless, these are the four Inyanim, the four Yesaidos. Olamala B'Shar Shaman, another the root Haim Dalet Oisius Havaya. They are Mamish Mushrish in the four letters of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the foundational building blocks of reality. Ulamata Haim Ma'irav Taivara, but down here below, it's Taivara, which means they can either be accessed in a way that allows them to reveal the Yud Kei Vav Kei behind them, and a person connects to Hashem through these midas, because all of them could be elevated, except for Atzvos, like I mentioned in my shir last night, the woman's shir, and Yichadas Bodidus. I don't know if you'll ever know, there is a woman's shir, if anybody's wives are interested, every Monday evening, right here, at 8 o'clock. Something very special, so make sure that there's something for the women as well.
For all the men that want to sneak onto the Zoom, it's a great idea.
Using their wife's Zoom name. So, any references to actual, it's completely coincidental. So, Toivara. Then down here they're mixed in Toivara, meaning they can either be Megala Kadosh Baruch Hu's presence, or they could hide Hashem's presence. V'atzadik Gamor shehivdol v'hifar sharam and atoiv legamri, that he's absolutely gotten rid mamish sur me'ra mamish ad shelo nishalo shum ra me'echad me'arbi yisaydas hanal, until he doesn't have any shemetz of the four Yisaidah, Shem Klal Hamidas Kiyadua, which contain all the midas, all the character traits. Such a person is able to be mizgara, but the way that Rebbe Nachman is going to learn mizgara doesn't mean to yell at or fight at, right? Even though on one level, that's what it means to be, megar, right? Roiges. The Rebbe it means to be metakin, to really fundamentally be able to try to experience what the Rasha feels, and to be mamtikid. And that's the aspect of Rebbe Nachman's story with the Turkey prince. I'm sure they'll ever know the story with the Turkey prince, the Rebbe's story with the Turkey prince. The king has a son who's so ill, and he thinks he's a turkey. Mamish, he's going crazy, thinks he's a turkey. Everybody tries to heal him. This one comes, that one comes, nothing's working. Finally, a big chacham comes, and he says, if the king will give me permission, I have a slightly different mahalach. The king says, please, we're desperate. He takes off all of his clothing. Today we get arrested for such a thing, but let's just say, back when, whatever, things were a little bit holier. He takes off his clothing because the prince is mamish wearing no clothing. He's just sitting like a chicken. He thinks he's not a human. And he sits under the table next to the prince. And he's sitting there, and the prince is making clucking sound, and this person's making clucking sound. And the turkey says, finally, after some time, he says, well, who are you? He says, I'm a turkey. And who are you? So, I'm also a turkey. Seder, two turkeys. And they're clucking, and you're pecking, the crumbs that are falling under the table. After some time, the Chacham tells him, you guys ever heard this story before? Mm-hmm. You don't know the turkey prince? Oh my.
I have to do a different series.
Oh my. This is not in Super Emisis. No, this is a mashal. It's not even Super Emisis. So he says to him, oh, this is a classic. So he says to the prince, he says, after some time, he says, we're turkeys. You trust me. He says, you can be a turkey and also wear pants. It's such a thing. He said, really? I didn't know you could be a turkey and wear pants still.
Trousers, right?
No, for his actual pants. We're going to get to the trousers. Yes. Right? You can wear pants. And he says, okay, if you say so, to be more comfortable, why can't I be a turkey and wear pants? So he motions, and they throw, 2 pairs of underwear and pants. And then sitting for a little bit more, he says, also you could be a turkey and wear trousers. And that blows his mind. Like, are you sure? Like, I can still be a turkey and wear trousers? He's like, I'm a turkey. Absolutely. I'm an expert turkey. I'm much older than you. I've been a turkey for much longer than you. You could be a turkey and wear trousers, and they throw trousers in, and so on until they're fully dressed. And then he tells them, you know something, I'm going to tell you even bigger chiddush. You could be a turkey, and you could sit at the table like a person. You're not a person, you're still a turkey, but you can sit by the table, ki'ilu. And he convinces him back and forth. Finally, he sits by the table, but he's still pecking his food like this. And the Chacham tells him the last thing. He says, you know, you can still remain a turkey l'chal davar, that you can eat with fork and knife. It's much more efficient. You could eat with a fork and knife. And all of a sudden, Rebbe Nachman describes, like, the minute that he picks up the cutlery, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm not a turkey. I'm actually a person. And the Rebbe says this is what the tzaddik does for the tzaddik, the roif in Fashas. This is not somebody giving business advice. You don't want to say yovel when you come to visit him for Rosh Hashanah and stand in line with 1,000 chassidim who doesn't know your name. This is not. We're talking about a Rebbe. We're talking about a Rebbe. A Rebbe goes under the table. A Rebbe goes under the table with you. Into the ibachin of tacha. The Rebbe gets into the mamakim. The tzaddik understands what you're going through. The tzaddik tells you, I get it. You have your stuff, but you know you can still do esposidus. You know you can still connect to Hashem. You can still, and then the tzaddik trains you until you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm really a tzaddik. I really am a tzaddik. This really is me. So that's the concept of the Hizgar. As you're going to see, the mutal Hizgar's Barsham, it needs to be a tzaddik gomer though, because what can happen if a person's not a tzaddik gomer? He goes under the table and he stays a turkey, right? That meaning that tzaddik has to be mamish a tzaddik so gomer that he's able to navigate these roads and he's able to hold the person's hand. We learned Sunday morning, right? Zakah man da achid biyada de chayavaya. The Zohar says, fortunate is the person not who gives musar to people, but who holds the hand of the chayavaya. That's the lashon of the Zohar Kodesh, who holds their hand and walks them where they need to go. This is a tzaddik. This is a Rebbe. That's what it means, a Rebbe. That's always what it meant, a Rebbe, to be a soul doctor. That's what the Rebbe is, a soul doctor. But Indian, so he says the Indian is like this. He called Rasha. Every single Rasha hechach shilat sinar. He has some kind of channel. Shemekabel derech shamarach shalal hashlam chisar. And every Rasha is relying on something. Everyone has a strategy. This is all strategies. We're just trying to survive. Every Rasha. There's no what's a Rasha? There's no such thing as a Rasha, right? It means a person is right now living in a state where they're separate from their Yiddishkeit, from their neshama, not a Rasha. Every Yitzhak tzaddik, right? But the bechina of a Rasha is that a person right now is disconnected. He's connected to its sinar, where ki'ilu, that's giving him ruach chaim. It's like a person who now thinks he could breathe because he walks around with an oxygen mask the whole day. You can't breathe. You know, chas v'shalom, something happens to the oxygen mask, you're finished. You know, your supply runs out, you're done. Like that's not healthy. That's a contingency. Right? So he says every Rasha has an oxygen mask. He says ki'ilu. Every Rasha is walking around with some kind of strategy that's keeping them afloat. But that's not sustainable. He's drawing on some channel of the Arbi Yisodos, and whether it's deep into Atzvos, or whether it's deep going back up right from Afar, or whether it's deep into the Bechina of Taiva. Mayim, but it's taiva, or whether it's a bechina of false pride, or whether it's a bechina of anger, whatever it is. This is where he's getting his stuff from. This is the supplier, you know, the drug dealer. This is where he's getting his ruach to fulfill his chisaron. When the tzaddik wants to mamish do a takedown of the bechina of Rasha and to help the person discover their tzidkas, well, the tzaddik wants to destroy the turkey and mamish save the prince. The Rasha has to go down into that place. The Rasha has to know what it means. He has to go under the table with the turkey prince. Shehigbar alav harasha, into that midah that the Rasha is struggling with. He has to understand it. So what does it mean? Imamish goes and does the avera, chas v'shalom, right? So what does it mean? In some bechina, he's able to be mizbainin in it. And he's able to try to the best of his capacity to understand the experience of what the person is feeling. Because otherwise, if the person feels attacked from the outside, I promise you, it's going to cause him to take a big breath, meaning he's going to go much deeper into it. If the person doesn't feel related to, if they don't feel understood, it's not going to work. They have to be understood. It has to come from a place that tzaddik says, I get it. I know where you're at. I understand what you're struggling with. And therefore, I'm able to see the prince inside of you, even though you think you're a turkey. And therefore, I'm able to see the tzidkus inside of you, because I know that what you really want is elikus. I know that you're not bad, and I'm not doing an intervention and telling you, if you don't do this, I'm going to kick you out of here, and you're going to lose your job. And it's not bad. It's all b'bechinas aseh toiv. It's just in order to get to the toiv, sur meirah, because that's not you. You understand? But it's not somebody who's coming to give musar and saying, how could you be living this way? That's going to cause them to go much deeper into addiction. Much. That's not the way. The way is to find a way to relate, like we said Sunday morning, to the shemayim inside of the person. And that tzaddik is able to understand what it means, galus hashchina. That's mamish, Tanya says, it's galus hashchina. There's a nitzat elikus inside of us, and that's who we are. And the tzaddik is giving us the consciousness to be able to approach ourselves in that way, to really see ourselves in that way, to see others in that way. So this is what the tzaddik does. He wants to be mashbil that. And then slowly but surely you're able to dismantle that channel. And it's like, hold on one second. How can you dismantle oxygen? Right? The person's plugged into a what's it called? But even more than a ventilator, like the life support, is that a ventilator? It's the same thing. Anyway, a person's plugged into mamish, the thing that's keeping him alive. And the tzaddik is dismantling the tzinar. So the answer, of course, is the tzaddik's not going to dismantle the thing unless he's having oxygen elsewhere, right?
So he gives him back his oxygen.
He gives him back his oxygen, and then the tzaddik just dismantles the channel, and he's like, you don't need this anymore, because look, like it's like the parent who's helping the kid ride the bike, and then the kid doesn't even realize that the parent wasn't even holding it from the back anymore because he let go, and you're free. Don't need me. You're free. This is what the tzaddik is doing. You're free. There's another mashal from the Rebbe. I'll say it briefly. There's another mashal where the Indian is, and we have to do more, but there's another mashal where the Rebbe brings, and it's brought from many tzaddikim. So the chiddush is not that Rebbe Nachman said the mashal. Many tzaddikim said the mashal. The chiddush is how he interpreted the mashal. The mashal, I think everybody knows this one, right? With the dream and the treasure under the bridge, right? And he has to go to Berlin and dig under the bridge. He has a dream again and again. There's the uncle from Poland, and he needs to go to Berlin, and there's a treasure under the bridge. And he gets to Berlin, and he starts to dig, and a German soldier comes to him and says, what do you think you're doing? He says, I'll tell you, it's me, Mr. Pshitas, I had a dream that there's a treasure under the bridge. And the German, and I came here to dig, and the German soldier just laughing at him. You stupid Jew. He says, "Well, you think dreams mean anything?" He said, "I had a dream the past 3 weeks that under the oven or the stove in the house of a Jew called Yankel from Poland, there's a treasure there. You think I'm going out to Poland?" Yankel's like, he turns around, he goes home, he digs under his oven, and Gewalt, and there's a treasure there. Right? This is a famous story, and it means many things. On a simple level, it means that it's also kashur, that the happiness that we're looking for elsewhere is actually, it's in our own backyard. All of our kids are running to the east to sit with people, and it's all in our own backyard. Okay, but the Rebbe says it's deeper. The Rebbe says, you know what it actually means? He says it means that everybody runs to the tzaddik to find a treasure. Everybody goes to the tzaddik. Either there's something by the tzaddik. And he says, you know what the tzaddik shows you? You already had the treasure all along. You are the treasure. The treasure's in you. The tzaddik enables a person to recognize you don't need me. Meaning, the more that a person relies on the tzaddik, be'emes, meaning, again, I have to communicate this because most people make such a huge mistake where they think that getting close to tzaddikim is now there's no accountability, and now that, as long as you're connected to the tzaddik, that's all. It's the opposite. Getting close to the tzaddik demonstrates to a person their own power, their own strength. And the more makusher you are to the tzaddik, the less you need the tzaddik, because the more that you've discovered your own sitkas. And so the tzaddik dismantles the wires, the high flow, whatever, the oxygen that's coming down into the Russia, because you could just dismantle it. And it's actually a very good mashal because that's ruach. He's breathing from that. It's the bechin of ruach. He dismantles it. You don't need that. Because that's where you're getting your chiz. But you have to be careful. Has to be a tzaddik gomer she'im by shum ra. Leman lo yeh koach la'ruach sa'ar sh'ruach haim shel rasha lishlik lahazik chas v'shalom la'atzadik ve'esha yord la'amida rasha l'rasha l'kalkala. So that ruach should not be damaging, should not overtake the tzaddik, to drag the tzaddik down. Because the Rasha has no connection, has no shlita over the tzaddik gamur. And there's no room for the midah ra to impact, because the tzaddik gamur is mamish gamur, and that's it. It's complete. And the midah ra also has no connection to the tzaddik, is only to go into that experience for the purpose of helping to cleanse it, of helping to elevate this person. Avram went down to Mitzrayim, and when he left, Ari tells us, he took all the nitzotzes to Kedusha. So he had to go down there in some sense, right? Again, what this means, the Mefarshim on this piece are very quiet. They don't say what it means. They're very quiet, but nobody wants to say, what it actually means, right? Or what it might actually mean. We don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? Logadea, and I'm going to stay silent on the rest of that, and every person will understand for themselves, what this might mean. The tzaddik is yoyred into the midah ra. Is it literal? Is it metaphysical? Is it metaphorical? What is it? I don't know. But Avram goes down to Mitzrayim practically. Avram Avinu goes down to Mitzrayim, and then he comes back up. V'zeu mashpil rishayim adei aretz. In order to be mashpil, the aspect of Rasha into a person, says the Rebbe Nachman, look at the Rasha Tevis of mashpil rishayim adei aretz, it has the same Rasha Tevis as eish ruach mayim afar. Because the way to be mashpil the Rasha is to find his sinar, whether he's drawing it from eish, or whether he's drawing it from ruach, or mayim, or afar, and then to be makalkal that, and that's to be mashpil. Shem klal kol amidos, that's the klalius of all the midos. Rosh tzrichim levaruram beber gamer, that a person needs to clarify them with an absolute clarification. Ad shelo yebo shom achiza mishum rasha b'shum mida me'arba yisodas anal, that they should be totally cleansed, and a person should be drawing his chiyas from yud k vav k, and not from eish rach mayim afar. From the toich, from the pnim, and not from the chutz. And when a tzaddik is able to do this, he's a tzaddik gamur. Va'az daika, when the tzaddik becomes a tzaddik gamur, meaning kishamavdala ra me'arbi yisodos, this is when he, in his own life, has separated himself from the eish ruach mayim afar. So then he's able to be mashpur sham ali aretz, right? Because then he himself is clean, and then he's able to go and help to clean others, right? Mashe ein kein tzaddik she'ein a gamur, which we said is the Binah of the Tanya. Av she'ein l'shum avera, af al pikin ada, and that's why they say in Lubavitch halavaya Binah, right? From this standpoint, halavaya, that we should be manifesting, right, our neshama to such a degree that we can be Binah, right? Who have no shum avera, but af al pikin ada lehivdal rala gamri vara dain bekoyach. Right, and that in the Tanya is not the tzaddik. Then the Tanya is the Beinani, but in the Rebbe that's enough. The Rebbe's a little bit gentler. The Rebbe says that's already a tzaddik. That's a tzaddik. But Valkain also lizgaris barasham. That's why a person has to be careful not to be mizgar barasham ki ishmakam larala echos by, because the ra can attack that person. V'yuchal hazikle. We're going to learn that later in the Kuturan as well. Rebbe Nachman cautions against doing kiruv. Right, even though of course a person should do kiruv, he says be super careful. Be super careful, because sometimes we're doing kiruv and sometimes we're doing richuk, meaning sometimes we're doing kiruv of others and sometimes we're actually doing richuk of ourselves. Because all of a sudden standards start to slip, and all of a sudden, I'm in a situation where davening with a minion is not a thing anymore, and sometimes your standards are slipping, and men and women, and it's all for the Shem Shemayim, and before you know it, it's not kiruv. It's you're a richuk professional, not a kiruv professional. It's dangerous. It can damage a person. Chas v'shalom, you have to be careful. Don't underestimate influence. Don't underestimate it. If a person's not rock solid in their emunah, and a person goes and is Isaac in this stuff, it can be dangerous for a person. Yeah, it can be dangerous. But b'chinas ruach sa'ar, because it's very powerful. That's a powerful influence. That's a wind. That's a storm wind. That's not simple. 2 more minutes. And this is what Chazal darshan, and the Chazal have a whole back and forth on this. Is it asilis gars parashim, mutilis gars parashim? A whole back and forth with psukim. And the Gemara says, v'haksiv, how can you say that a person is allowed to be misgar b'rashayim, but the pasuk says al tischar b'mereim, don't fight with the evildoers. And the Gemara answers on mishali by noikfay aimer kain, meaning this, that a person saying don't get involved with rashayim, that's a person whose own heart is not so cleansed from rishas, right? Because if a person's heart would be cleansed and there would be a tzaddik gamor, they would have no issue with being miskar b'rashaim. Usually, Perish Rashi haYurim averis shabiyadai. Right? He has averis. So it says Rebbe Nachman, you know what shabiyadai means? Shabiyadai doesn't mean that he's doing the averis, but it's still b'koyach. He's a tzaddik she'ina gamor. B'koyach. This is what we said. Even a person who doesn't do averis, but he knows himself that he still has a Yitzhara and he still could conceivably do an Avera, but he's white knuckling, he's trying to make sure that he's overcoming that taiva. But he has the Ra, but it's b'koyach. He hasn't gotten to the madriga that nothing shall happen, that no avain at all shall happen to the tzaddik. And he's not absolutely certain that he'll not come to Avera, Chas v'Shalom. So v'halkein asal l'skaris b'rashaim. To that person, it says al tischaber merei. V'zehu tachrish kabbalah rasha tzaddik mimenu. Habakkuk says right in the beginning, he davens to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how can you be silent when kabbalah rasha tzaddik mimenu, when the rasha is swallowing up tzaddik mimenu, he who is more righteous than him. V'amar abasin tzchana l'racha tzaddik mimenu b'leah. Right, he's someone who's more righteous. Tzaddik mimenu b'leah, because the Gemara says tzaddik gamor eina b'leah. Only tzaddik mimenu b'leah. That the Risham will swallow up, will consume someone who is tzaddik mimenu, meaning he's a relative tzaddik, but he isn't that absolute tzaddik. That's kind of tzaddik, and that's the tzaddik she'ina gamor of Rebbe Nachman, the Binah of the Tana. That you have to be careful. B'leah daika ki b'leah oisem mamish b'richas haruach shel, he'll blow you down. Like b'leah is melashon blow, Balei, he'll blow him down. So Geulah b'shaitai al tzaddik gamor in a beleah. But the Gemara says a tzaddik gamor is not being swallowed. Ke'ein libanoik from michshash michshal aver k'niskalel. He's not worried. Kikvar bita l'ra l'gamri mikol amidas v'atayva shekol arbi yisodos. And this, of course, the great tzaddikim who got to this level, who are able to come down under the table with us, who are able to give us the chizik that we need, the chiyus that we need. V'alkein zeh tzaddik gamor b'chol hanilvam elav. Whoa. He says, therefore, this tzaddik and all who are connected to him. That saves our life, no? Because how many tzaddikim gemurim are there? How many? I don't know. I don't know any. But we know who they are and we can connect with them. Says the Rebbe, if you're connected to the consciousness of a tzaddik gamor, you're also able to go and help other people. B'chol hanilvim elav. Mutarim le'skaris b'rasham. But again, not miskar to go out and fight people. That's not the Rebbe's derech in any place. That's not what it means. That's why you have to learn the Kutumran. You have to know it in the context of all Kisrei Breslov, because then you see it in like a diamond in the setting. Kizat sadik yachol leirid l'toich kolat sinar shokol amid Yisrael shalem she's gabra al atzmam shegbiru al atzmam. You can go into all these places that they higbiru al atzmam, they brought upon themselves as a strategy to protect themselves because they were feeling so disassociated from their self, from their true self. And to dismantle these channels and to help people realize you're free. You can ride the bike on your own. You don't need Abba or Mami anymore. You're free. What a privilege. What a privilege to learn these teachings together.
שכל כך אוהב אותי האב שלי, מלך חי וקיים על כל נשימה שאני